Hello my veggie foodies, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are ready for today's episode. As I told you in the last video, I have brought back the biscuits. We're going to do brunch vegan style. So we're going to do a biscuit and gravy, a sweet potato hash, and a vegan sausage. I hope you're ready. I got this idea when I was watching Soul Food Cook-Off, and a lady, actually the person that won, I think her name was Riza, and she said that her mom or her grandma only did a 3-step biscuit, and she said that she wanted to stick to that. That's what was good, and she wasn't going to deviate. And when she said that, I said, 3-step biscuit, how is that possible? The host of that show, Cartier Brown, she also has a cooking show on Food Network called Miss Delicious Brown. And she also said that she does a 3-step biscuit. I'm like, how can I do a vegan 3-step biscuit? So the key is self-rising flour rather than all-purpose flour. The good thing about that is it has your baking powder and all of those components in it, so you don't have to do the guesswork yourself. So here we have 2 cups of self-rising flour. And like I said in the last one, this is literally the best biscuit I think I've ever had in my life, and I can't believe that it was vegan. I was just blown away. Buttermilk isn't vegan, so you're probably wondering, how did you make buttermilk? So I use oat milk preferably when cooking because I feel like it has more of a neutral taste. So all you have to do is add a tablespoon of white vinegar. Fill the rest of the way up to the cup with your preferred plant milk, okay? So for this recipe, we only need about 2/3 cup, so I didn't use the whole cup, but that's how I got my buttermilk. When you first mix it, it kind of still smells like milk and vinegar, so I let mine sit in the fridge long enough so it can kind of curdle and separate. I whisk it together, and then after about 30 minutes or so, it starts smelling a little more like sour milk, which is how buttermilk smells. So we have 4 tablespoons of really cold butter. So we're gonna slice this up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, that's cool how it stacks. Me and my sister and my dad, I would say, have a really weird thing with biscuits and gravy. Like, we love it. It's actually one of my favorite breakfast dishes. And especially since going vegetarian and eating a lot of vegan food when I'm out, it's hard to find anywhere that has a biscuit and gravy that either doesn't have sausage or pork or some type of meat in it, or no meat stock. It's really hard to find it. So when I find it, I just go crazy. And so when I found this biscuit recipe, I'm like, oh yeah, it only makes sense to make the biscuit and gravy. It makes sense for me. If I made anything else, it wouldn't make sense, honestly. So I put the buttermilk back in the fridge so it can stay really, really cold while we work with this. Because the thing is, you want it to stay cold. You don't want it to get room temperature, and that'll keep it nice and flaky, and you'll actually see some layers in your biscuit. I never would imagine that I could make a vegan biscuit and it have layers. I just thought there was no way. I don't know why, but. So you just want to work the butter into the flour, okay? So just kind of knead through it with your fingers, kind of crush it with your fingers a little bit until the butter pieces are kind of like pea size. And that is a tip from Miss Cartier. Okay, that's a workout. My arm's starting to burn. So now that we have the butter mostly incorporated, as you can see, it kind of has some little lumps, as I said earlier. It's kind of like pea-sized lumps. So now we're going to add in our ice cold buttermilk. And I whisked it together so it hasn't separated too much, but we're just gonna give it a little stir because it does kind of separate. And we're just going to pour this in and massage the dough as we pour. And of course it seems a little runny now, but it will eventually incorporate and you'll be blown away. Maybe not. I don't think I've ever been this excited in my life over making something. When I made these biscuits and I tried them, I was just like, no way. Like, the fact that one, they're vegan, two, it was only 3 ingredients, and 3, it didn't take me very long. And I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, no way. Incorporated. So, my hand is filthy. I think I actually want a little more of that buttermilk, and I actually put it to the side in a jar. So we're just gonna, not too much. We don't want it soggy. Okay, we're just gonna add a little more in here, and that may be enough. We're gonna see. And I think that may have done it. So maybe instead of 2/3 cups, you may want to do 3/4 cup of buttermilk. Yep, that was just enough. That was perfect. Okay, so now that we kind of got that going, we are going to start kneading it and then cutting it. And while you're doing this, you will want your oven preheating to 450 degrees. I know it sounds really high, but just do it, please, and you'll see. I just have some all-purpose flour here, and we're going to put some flour on the cutting board so that the dough does not stick, okay? And you will also want to get some of that flour on your hands so your hands don't stick, because believe me, they will. I think what made me so excited about getting back to baking and making these biscuits is because I feel like my first kind of love with cooking was baking. Just, you know, baking with my mom when I was younger, and just finding out that it's not just as simple as throwing seasonings in, it's more of a science to it. So, you know, doing your dry ingredients and mixing those before you incorporate your wet ingredients, and you know, just figuring out what everything was for, the purpose of everything. And when you start making your own creations, and then they're going from things just like something as simple as flour to a masterpiece, something that's so delicious, it just, I don't know, it just gives me a rush. And I'm happy to be getting back to the first thing that I really kind of fell in love with cooking, and that's baking. All right, and this was a trick that she taught me. Not only flour your board, but flour your hands up a bit. So we're just gonna get those nice and floury. Okay. The more flour, the better on your hands, because it gets in those crevices. So we're gonna grab our ball of dough, okay? And we're going to kind of just knead it on the board, okay? Not too long. Just get everything kind of massaged in. I'm going to use the 3-inch biscuit cutter. I want to use this one because I want my biscuits nice and big, because I don't know, why would you want small biscuits for biscuits and gravy? And as you can see, I'm also dipping this in the all-purpose flour that I have on the side so that it also does not stick to the dough. And that's so satisfying, just feeling it just go down in there. Oh, and don't do too much twisting and turning. As they say, that will mess up your flakes. Okay, so I push straight down, and look at that, guys. That is a perfect little biscuit, and it's gonna be so nice and pretty once it's baked. So now these are ready to almost go into the skillet. But first, like I said, we're going to put this in the freezer for only a couple minutes. Now, while those are in the freezer, I'm going to actually put my cast iron skillet in the oven for a little bit to get the cast iron nice and warm. And ideally, I would like to melt this butter on the stovetop, but for now, I'm just gonna pop it in the microwave for probably about 12 seconds to get it nice and softened so I can brush it on top. It's mostly melted down. It's melted down good enough. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I like it like that anyway because it's more of like a whipped butter rather than it being completely melty. It's kind of like more of a whipped-ish. And so now I'm probably going to add about a tablespoon of butter to the skillet. Okay. Ooh, and it's melting so fast. We're going to put the biscuits in the skillet. Okay. Ooh, and they're nice and cold. Ooh. We're gonna save the runt of the group for last. Probably put it in the middle. We're trying to keep them as close as possible so they don't spread too much, but ooh, they're so pretty. And of course, if you're cooking for more people, you can double your yield or adjust it, you know, just whatever. I mean, you may just like a lot of biscuits because then you have biscuits left over for later. Alrighty. So those are gorgeous. As you can see, our weird one in the middle, but it's all good. So before we put these in the oven, we're going to brush the top of these with some butter. And it's gonna be so nice and crispy. The bottom and the top of it, y'all. I'm just trying to tell you. So we have our sweet potatoes cut up here. We're gonna do these on the stove top rather than the oven this time. So I have about 2 large sweet potatoes cut up here. I have maybe a little over half an onion here. And then I have 2 stalks of celery here. So of course I don't like my things as crunchy. So I'm going to go on and get this on the stove cooking down just a tinge before I add in the sweet potatoes. So I have like 2 tablespoons of butter here. Like I said, whatever vegan butter you prefer. So we're gonna get that melting down. And then we're going to add a little olive oil. Extra virgin if you're nasty. So we're gonna let that melt down a little bit, and then we're gonna add in our onion and celery. I had the butter melting over medium heat. Now that it's all melted, well, the butter and the olive oil. And I add a little olive oil because sometimes butter can burn a little quicker, easier, so incorporating that olive oil in there keeps it from burning, okay? So we're gonna add the celery in there, get all of that, yes. And then we're going to add, I just did, I said a little over half an onion. I did a sweet onion this time because that's what I had. And I did keep most of the skin on these sweet potatoes because a lot of the nutrients are in the peels, as it is for most fruit and vegetables. That's a lot of sweet potato. Can you see it? Pretty, all the colors, okay? And so, then we're gonna get some crushed salt in there because we don't want flavorless food. And for some reason, I just felt the desire to include ginger with my sweet potato hash. I don't know why, but when I was thinking about what I was gonna make, I was just like, for some reason I wanna put ginger in there. So guess what? I'm putting ginger. So I'm not measuring this. I'm just gonna do a little Okay, so now we're gonna stir that in and we're gonna cover it and let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes, okay? We're gonna brush these honey babies with some more butter. Oh, you hear that sizzle? Get into it. Oh, I knew this biscuit was gonna turn out so pretty. So we're gonna pop these back in there for about 2 more minutes and you'll get to see the beauties once they come out. Our biscuits are finally ready. So we're gonna take the biscuits out, we're gonna brush them with 1 more layer of butter, and you're gonna see how beautiful these biscuits look. All right, so we have all of these brushed once again. I have used the butter to the last drop. And there you have it, beautiful butter biscuits, okay? I'm just gonna use the Beyond Meat block, or the Beyond Meat ground, I guess you would say. So I think about half of this will be okay, because like I said, I'm just cooking for 2 people, so we don't need that much meat. I'm just gonna kind of get it on here. Patty, oh, that's gonna be a thick patty. I may not have thought that one through. That needs to be 2 patties, that's huge. Okay, so we're just gonna Give each patty some love on both sides. Okay, I'm going fast. I'm going faster. We're going to tend to these sweet potatoes because they're screaming at me at this point. Zesty. Look at that biscuit. Look at that view. With Beyond Meat sausage, it tends to kind of create its own fat in the skillet, which is great. But just to encourage it to kind of get cooking a little bit, I'm gonna add just a little bit of butter to get it cooking. So we have about 2 tablespoons of butter here. I'm going to get this in the skillet. Like I said, it's already warm and I kept the fat and dripping. The skillet's already hot, so it's gonna cook down pretty quickly. All right, and I'm going to go in and add some onions in here and a little garlic. The hash wasn't quite as crispy as I wanted in the skillet, so I figured I'll try the air fryer to see if I can get more of the crisp that I want. So that's why you hear the air fryer going. So with the gravy, if you like a thicker gravy, you probably could have stopped at 2 cups of milk. We did 3 cups of milk. It was a little more thin than I would like. So if that's the case, if you would like more, but you want it a little thinner, a little thicker, I'm sorry, you can do a slurry on the side, which is either cornstarch and cold water or all-purpose flour and cold water mixed together till it's like a paste, and you slowly whisk it in until it gets to the consistency that you like. And as you can see, it's a lot thicker now, okay? So we're going to plate. Oh, also off camera, make sure you season it with salt and pepper, fresh cracked pepper if you have it, to the flavor that you would like. And I also added a little garlic powder and onion powder to taste. All right, so there you have it, guys. A delicious vegan biscuit and gravy brunch. So we have our biscuit and gravy here, our Beyond sausage seasoned with Italian seasoning, and it is so delicious. I couldn't even stop eating it. And then this sweet potato hash. And surprise, I made a little boozy brunch drink to go along with it. We have a puree of, I think, strawberries, pineapple, peaches, and then we topped it off with some Prosecco. So let's taste test. Of course, we're going in for the biscuits first. This has been a long time coming, y'all. So good. We move over to the sausage. The sausage is so good. I already tasted it, but I'm gonna taste it again for y'all. It's so flavorful. You can taste the seasoning inside and outside, and then it has a crisp to it as well. Delicious. And then for hash. Also good. Now we have to try the drink. The zing to it, but it's delicious. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Until next time, bye, guys.